Okay, good evening. I think we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, welcome to everyone. I know for some of you, this is kind of the second go-around yet this week, so really do appreciate you coming out tonight and hopefully getting some valuable information about our one-to-one initiative as well as information about digital citizenship. We have Brandon Douglason, he's also going to be talking about the one-to-one, and Karen Hossey from KSB School of Law. She's here to talk more about the digital citizenship and court cases and specific cases that she's dealt with indirectly or directly or has researched that information. Anyway, so we will have you out of here hopefully in an hour. So the first part of it is the initiative, the one-to-one initiative that we started actually several years ago. And we started off with laptop parts, and we felt that was at that time probably the most efficient as well as the best route to go. We weren't ready to really roll out the one-to-ones. Since then, the demand has been very high on an individual teacher basis, and we just do not have enough computers day in and day out in the high school for us to meet those demands. So that's why we decided to go one-to-one Chromebooks. Chromebooks are much more cost efficient, and they can do pretty much everything that we want them to do. Now, we will continue to have the laptop parts, the Mac laptop parts, as well as our PC classrooms in place. So we still have all that technology. So we're not really taking away technology, we're actually adding technology. We also want students to have that one-to-one access and be able to also take it home. So anyway, that's a little history of the one-to-one. We also feel that the one-to-one students become more engaged. It's their world, and so we're really trying to improve our technology in our school district. Great technology. Anyway, so there's been the purposes of the Chromebooks. They're Google-based, so there's all kinds of different Google Docs, but Chrome is the web browser that you use with it. And once again, all students will have their own one-to-one. Okay, so next week, on Monday, we're going to start handing out the notebooks. They're going to start with the juniors and seniors on Monday, sophomores and freshmen on Tuesday. And in order for students to receive their mobile devices, number one, the students have to attend today's presentation by Karen Hossey. If not, they'll have to watch the video, because we videotape that session, as well as parents. We just feel like you really need to become educated about technology and what's out there. We've also presented to the students about the policies. We did that yesterday with all the groups. You also need to get on final forms if you haven't already, and go through all those final forms and check off that you received those, and do take time to read through the various policies. Now, for today's information and the sign-up, it will not be ready until actually tomorrow, because we contract with it's called Final Forms. So starting around noon tomorrow, you'll be able to get on there, the Final Forms, and you'll be able to click off and say, yes, I attended tonight's session. And we know some parents, of course, may have had to work or had other commitments tonight, That's why we're videotaping this, so that they will have a link. That'll also give you a link if you ever want to go back and refer back to the information that we're presenting tonight. Okay, and we'll go over technology fees that are involved in this. But anyway, so here's the way we're going to, like I said, we're going to check those out. Students to check them in. Of course, if students leave and go to another school district, we'll have them check them in. If students are ever suspended, expelled, when students graduate, and within the school year, those will be times we'll have those students check those devices back in. And so students will have the same computers year after year. So if they start as a freshman, sophomore, junior, okay, they will get those same devices the following year. Okay, and just we want to make sure those devices are in good running condition. You know, and if they're stolen or whatever, we do want to be notified as soon as possible. Same way if they're damaged, so we can hopefully take care of that the sooner the better. Okay, once again, students, we'll be able to take those devices home. They're internet-based, so they'll have to connect to Wi-Fi. They will be using these in the classrooms. We've provided the teachers with lots of different training, so they're proficient in using the Chromebooks. And once again, we want the students to be able to take those home and do their homework on it and become more engaged in the learning process. Okay, just some brief tips, and I'm not going to go over every little thing. The biggest thing, I think, for me is, number one, that they're charged every day. So it's kind of like their cell phones. We want them to plug those in. So, you know, parents really support us on that. You know, it's kind of like that mobile textbook. And make sure that, you know, have a chat with them. We really prefer that they don't have food or drink around them. That, you know, it's kind of at their own risk. You know, if they spill on it or whatever, there's, just like any computer, there's that chance for being damaged. Okay, we will be inspecting these. Once again, these are school devices, so we will be inspecting these on a regular basis. So we'll just pull them out and just take a look at them, check to make sure they're in good working condition, go through them, take a look at them, give them back to the kids. We're not going to spend a lot of time on them, but we want to make sure students know we're going to be looking at those devices. Kind of a preventive measure. Okay, there is, of course, a user agreement, and it goes through all that. Do read through that. Like I said, I have about 10 minutes here, and I'm going to keep going fairly quick. Okay, kind of your responsibilities. Okay, once again, read that policy. We've spent quite a bit of time, and it's not just something we've dreamt up. It's actually, we looked at other schools, see what they were doing, and tried to make it kind of fit what we're doing, but yet provide kind of a structure in place for using those one-to-one. And do supervising at home. Just have, you know, once again, sit down and talk to your kids about, hey, what are you doing? Show me kind of what you're doing in school. I think you'd be very interested, hopefully, to see what your kids are doing in school with the mobile devices. Once again, it's going to evolve into something, you know, this year it's kind of, you know, kind of a baseline, and it's going to just keep getting better and better. Okay, our responsibilities, of course, we will be providing internet service throughout the day. We will provide email. They have Gmail accounts. Every student will have a Gmail account. Once again, it's a great way for us to also converse with students. I get emails from students on certain things. We can email back and forth. I think the biggest thing is we want to prepare these kids to use technology appropriately when they leave our school. So it's a learning process. Well, you keep going. Student activities. Once again, this is all in policy. I think these are things. It is filtered. Not only here at school, but it also will be filtered at your house or your home. So even if the kids leave our school with that device, it's still being filtered. Don't ask me how it works, but it works. And so, and it's going to be set up so you also get notified your students are on something inappropriately and they just keep clicking on something that's inappropriately, not only we will get it, but you will get it too. So it's not a huge surprise to anyone. And we've already talked to the students about this. And once again, it's those safeguards. And by law, we have to filter our internet as well as the devices that our school Okay, as far as discipline, anything from, hey, it's a warning to might be a detention. Parents, definitely, if it's significant, we're going to be contacting you, keeping you in the loop. It might be a suspension in school, out of school. I hope we don't get to that point, but there's always that possibility. Expulsion is pretty extreme if they're downloading or trying to download things, or they, and we all know filters are not 100% every time it breaks. So if it costs $100 and you don't pay the $15, you're paying the whole amount. You can see, the charger is a $35 cost. So, and is what we've done is we put barcodes on these, so the charger as well as the laptop will have a barcode on it. So for some reason it's misplaced or whatever, and it's found, and we can simply swipe it and find out whose it is. Okay, we do have a buyback program, and so as you can see, for like year one, so that'd be like this year's seniors, they can pay 75%, which is $187. If they do not use the insurance, and it's really not insurance, it's more like tech fee. If they don't have any issues as far as breakages or damage, that'll be prorated out, and then even grade point average for like a 4.0, get $50 off. So we're going to make it doable for students to buy these back if they wish at the end of their senior year. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Duttison, and he can follow up on just a few things that I missed, and then we will let Karen Austin talk.
Welcome. He kind of stole all my thunder, but I'll quickly reiterate what I was going to say. The first thing I was going to say is about the filter. There is a filter, he said, that is on the device, and it doesn't matter where they're at. It could be here, it could be in Lincoln, it could be at the town library, and it's still being filtered on a pretty tight filter that blocks bad websites. With that, we can set it up so that as soon as they go on a bad website, it immediately emails Mr. McDiffit the student's name and where they went. So that student better have a good excuse of, you accidentally went there, or if you see that they're there for trying to hit it 5 times in a row, they're not accidentally going there, they're trying to get there. So it'll go there. When we get this all working, it's brand new that we bought it. We're only the second school in central Nebraska to have this, and it's going to be pretty cool when we're all done with it. But we can have weekly reports or monthly reports sent to the parents. So you can see after 10 o'clock, my student has been online for 5 hours every night. So it has a lot of cool features to it. In the classroom, the teachers are going to be able to see the screens, and so if students not paying attention and not working, the teacher can block the screen and they can say, this word, type on it, and it can take a screenshot of the student if they're being bad or whatever. So there's a lot of features that, and we told the students, we're not trying to not have them use it. We just want to make sure that there's the school issue devices that are being used legally. And Karen's going to talk about that, so I don't want to go there, but we do have those measures in place. And so when your student brings home a laptop, they're not going to be, you don't have to be worried about them cruising around on bad websites, at night. So it's still being filtered. And if you notice a website that they're on and you don't want them to be on it, let us know, and I can block it right away, okay? Because these filter, websites are created every night, it seems like. And so it's the filter companies try to keep up every night with the new websites, and sometimes they're just new and you can't block until you let us know. So please let us know if you find something on those ends. Quickly show you what the laptop or the Chromebooks are going to look like. That's about all I have. Here's the case. The charger goes in the front, little pouch there. Okay. The kids. And by the way, the leadership class, high school leadership class, is the ones that helped us narrow down. We had like a list of five Chromebooks, and they narrowed it down for us, and even narrowed down the bags for us. And so these bags open up, and the Chromebook is already in there, and so they can set them on their desk and type away. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So they are HP Chromebooks, and so it's a brand name that everybody knows. And they just close it up, zip it up, and head off to the next class. And there's metal protection in there, so it kind of helps protect the screen. So that's what they'll be getting. That's all I have. So
one quick thing: if you decide not to pay the $15, okay, then the kids will leave their Chromebooks in school. They will not take them home. Or if you say, I'm adamant, I don't want to bring them home, you need to let us know. If you still want to pay the $15, say, you know what, but we feel like this is a great advantage for kids to have the technology to go home. And as far as bringing their own device, we're providing these devices for the kids, and so they're not going to be able to bring their own computers to school. They'll be using these just because they're not tied into our system. They don't have the filters we have, so on and so forth. But they will be able to use Chrome at home on their devices, so if they say, you know what, we have a much better device at home, it's a Mac or whatever, and that's what they want to use, they can still use that Chrome at home. So that's totally up to you as a parent.
Okay. All right, this is Karen Hosey.
I'm getting fired up because I take off my jacket before I talk to you. So let me tell you a quick story. I'm an attorney. I'm out in Lincoln. All I do is represent public school districts in the state, including Central City, so go Bison. My kid graduated from Norris High School just this past spring, and Norris did one-to-one Chromebooks last year for the first time. So I was sitting where you are. At Norris, it was $40 to have like the insurance, so if your kid jacked with the computer and broke it, you wouldn't pay. And if you knew my kid, you would understand why I had that check written as fast as I possibly could. So, 3 or 4 weeks into the school year, Eli comes home and says, Mom, I think I've lost my Chromebook. And I said, well, dude, you know what? That's why I paid my $40. You go to the technology department, and I think they replaced it for the first time absolutely free. And he says, yeah, I know, but I forgot to turn in the check you gave me. So I am the proud owner of 2 Chromebooks, neither of which is at my house. So, but yeah, I think you all should be super grateful that if they're going to have you fill out the forms and get all that stuff turned in, trust that, take it from me, as someone whose kid did turn in the check, it's money well spent. So I'm here, I know that it's the second day of school. I know you left the house and you said to them, I want that dishwasher emptied. I want that trumpet practiced. I want that homework done, and I will be home at 7:30 to kick your tiny little butt if that's not all done, right? And I want to be respectful of your time, so I will be done talking at 7:30 no matter what, because I know how hard it is to get out of the house when you have kiddos at home doing God knows what. I have talked to your students, I think, 3 times in the last 5 years. I love your kids. Thank you. They are awesome people to talk to. And I think this is the first time I've had a chance to talk to the entire parent group. And so I want to share with you the stuff that I see in my practice. Oh, sorry, I got to swap HDMI inputs. 2018 with all of the social media and all this stuff. And I just want to point out, if you think teens have it tough, don't you have a lot of angst as a parent living in the digital age, right? Did any of you see this article that appeared in the Atlantic magazine last August? If you did not have a chance to read it, I highly recommend it. 2017 was the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone. And in the 10 years, according to this article that summarizes research that has been done, in the 10 years since the implementation or since the introduction of the iPhone, student anxiety has gone way up. Student issues involving being bullied and cyberbullied, way up. Student reports about feelings of being afraid of missing out or feeling like they're socially not connecting, way up. And so this article was like all about a lot of the problems that kids and parents are facing in light of the iPhone becoming part of our culture. Here's the interesting thing. That same study shows that since the introduction of the iPhone, teen pregnancy rates way down. Students drinking, consuming alcohol and drugs, that incidence, way down. Student deaths in traffic accidents, way down. Why is that? When we were in high school, how did we get away from our parents? We got in the car. I'm a proud graduate of Creed High School, I'm sorry. We got in the car and we drove down to the Pomona parking lot and we turned around and drove to the Scala OK Tire and turned around. When we talk about cruising, my kids are like, "You're joking." No, right? How do your kids get away from you now? They go in their bedroom, they close the door, and they get on the phone, right? They're not having sex and getting pregnant, they're exchanging news. Both are equally destructive behaviors, right? But we should accept the fact that with technology, you have to take the bitter with the sweet. So my point here tonight is not to tell you that technology is bad or that you should go home and smash their phones with a hammer, no matter how much you want to, right? But simply that I think parents are able to do their best work for their kiddos when they are informed about some of the stuff that's happening. So that's my goal today. Great article, I'd highly recommend it. I do think in many times our kids are growing up on a digital playground. They live their real lives on Snapchat and Instagram, and unless we are there using those apps and living digitally alongside them, nobody is really there to model the kind of behavior we want. So what is the stuff that I see happening to kids in the state of Nebraska that I want parents to know about? There's really three different issues I want to visit with you about tonight in the time we have left. First, I want to talk about bullying and cyberbullying. Now, I'm going to talk about this in the way lawyers think about it, which is probably different than you've heard other speakers address it. Secondly, I do want to talk about sexting, sextortion, and other kinds of crimes that kids get charged with based on their online behavior. And then finally, I want to talk about basic internet safety. First off, bullying and cyberbullying is a huge issue, and statistically across the United States, student reports of being bullied and cyberbullied are increasing. Now, you'll notice that I always say bullying and cyberbullying. I never say bullying and cyberbullying. They both happen kind of at the same time, right? I have not worked a case in the last 10 years where a kid was being bullied in person that they weren't also being bullied electronically. This is the Nebraska Student Discipline Act, which tells schools that they have the power to impose consequences on students if they engage in an ongoing pattern of physical, verbal, or electronic abuse. School districts also can punish kids for engaging in any activity forbidden by Nebraska law. And I want you to realize that when your child takes this Chromebook home, right? If I stood up here on this stage and said, "Mr. McDiffit is a dork," or whatever, I could be punished, right? Because I'm at school saying inappropriate things about Mr. McDiffit. If I go home and I use my school Chromebook to tweet, "Mr. McDiffit is a huge dork," even if it's true. But the fact that I'm using a school device makes it just as if I had done it on school grounds, okay? So once they're using the computer for whatever communication they're using, it's exactly the same as if they were using it as if they were on school grounds. And increases our ability to discipline, but it also increases our ability to make sure kids are making good choices. Most common consequences I impose when I get calls from clients about kids misusing technology is to simply take away technology for a week. Nothing is worse when everybody else is zipping along in their Chromebooks and you're having to fill out a worksheet, right? The other go-to consequence that I use is loss of extracurricular activities. I love this for two reasons. One, your student has no legal right to be involved in a sports team or on the choir, or in the choir or in the marching band. They do have a right to be in school, and so legally it's way easier for us to impose extracurricular consequences. Kids also value it more, right? I asked them today, would you rather miss a day of school or not be able to play against St. Paul next Friday night? Oh, right. And so since that's more highly valued by kids, I think it's also a better discipline tool. Short-term suspension in Nebraska is up to 5 days out of school. Long-term suspension is up to 19 days out of school. Both are consequences we can impose if they use the Chromebooks to bully or cyberbully. In extreme cases, like Mr. McDiffit said, we can expel. We try not to use exclusionary discipline if we can avoid it. One thing I get from parents all the time, especially if you feel like your kiddo has been targeted. Remember back in the day when we were in high school, and if somebody got expelled, they disappeared and never came back? Who knew where they went? Right? Now, school districts are limited in how long we can exclude students from school to 1 semester. So if you have had problems and it seems like the school's not taking enough action, expulsion for 1 semester is the most the school can do. This is a case that occurred in Grand Island Public Schools at the end of the 2016-17 school year. Interesting case. Kids are using a website called Ask.fm, which is like a really old and antiquated social media website. I wouldn't bother learning it. It's surprising that kids were still using it in Grand Island in 2017. A girl writes on Ask.fm, "Tomorrow gonna be hella fire," and she uses the fire emoji, and then she says, "Be there, school." One of the other students that goes to Bar Middle School, underneath that comment says, "Don't be at school tomorrow," and puts the gun emoji. Parents in Grand Island start to get reports from their kids that this has been posted. Parents become concerned that there might be an act of school violence. They call the cops. Police show up at the middle school the next day, pull the two kids in to interview them. Now, JS is the girl, that's this student that made this comment, and then this boy is a separate student who also goes to bar, but he's not involved in this lawsuit. When they pull JS into the conference room to talk to her, they say, "Why did you post this?" And she says, "I thought it was funny. I thought it was a joke. I was joking around." And the police said, "Do you really think it's funny to joke about burning down the school?" And the girl said, "Are you insane? I didn't try to burn down the school." How many adults in this room, be honest now, thought that hellfire was some sort of threat against the school? My Aunt Marty says, yeah. Kids, what does this mean? Awesome, lit, cool, right? She says to the police, "I wasn't threatening to burn down the school. I said it was going to be a great day." And the police said, "Okay, let's say that's true. If that is the case, when the kid put the comment about the gun after your statement, why didn't you say something?" And she said, "Oh no." School suspended this girl for 15 days. Parents thought that was too severe, especially since it was off-campus conduct. They challenged the suspension in court. The district court affirmed and said that this was a perfectly acceptable thing for the school district to do. Parents appealed to the Nebraska Supreme Court. Nebraska Supreme Court dismissed the appeal. In general, courts are very aggressive in allowing schools to take action to consequence kids if they are making statements that the school believes threaten the safety and order of the school. So please go home and talk to your kiddos about not posting something stupid like this. Now, if you think just students do stupid things, this is an adult case. You know this is an adult case because it deals with Facebook, right? Hey, nobody under 30 checking Facebook every day. So someone has put this on their Facebook page. It says, "Why do you need a gun? You need these for muggers, rapists, and carjackers. This one's for burglars and home invasions. This one for putting food on the table. This one for self-defense against enemies, foreign and domestic, for preservation of freedom and liberty, and to prevent government atrocities. Mr. Ross sees this post that someone else made, and in the comments section, he says, which one do I need to shoot up at kindergarten? He's arrested, charged with making terroristic threats. Mr. Ross says, no, you don't understand. I was not threatening to commit an act of school violence. I was making a political point that we need to have gun control. His defense was that the police violated his First Amendment rights and his Fourth Amendment rights. First Amendment right to free expression, he said, I was making a political statement. The court said, you do not have a First Amendment right to make statements that threaten school security and safety. Therefore, his First Amendment challenge was dismissed. The Fourth Amendment claim is an interesting one, and it's really relevant to your kiddos as well. He said, this is an unlawful search. The police can't go trolling through my Facebook posts and arrest me if I haven't friended the police. And the court said, law enforcement and government officials, like schools, are permitted to read any comment that any member of the public places on the internet if you've done it in a public forum, right? So when your kiddo posts something to their Snapchat story that anyone can see, it's okay for the school to go in and look at it. This guy ended up doing some kind of plea bargain and is on probation, banned from Facebook, which makes him, like, you know, I don't know what middle-aged men that want to talk about gun control do if they can't be on Facebook. I don't know. There are two social media apps that I think every adult that interacts with middle school and high school kids should be familiar with. One is Snapchat, that we're going to talk about in a little bit, and one is Instagram. Instagram is an interesting app because it is the application that is most likely to cause young people to feel depressed and lonely, very much focused on appearance, right? And if you go and look at girls, especially middle school girls' Instagram feeds, highly filtered pictures. Middle school girls are like super adept at using Facetune to edit out any kind of flaw in their skin or whatever. And what social science researchers are talking about now is concern that we have really emphasized to middle schoolers and high schoolers that their appearance is the very most important thing about them. Also, this is an article from Time magazine that talks about some ways that girls are subtly bullying each other on Instagram in ways that you may not realize. What's your first name? If Jamie and I take a picture together and I put it on Instagram and I edit out every flaw on my face and I leave Jamie exactly the way she looks in real life, it's a subtle form of targeting Jamie because I look better than she does. What's your name? Blaine and I take a picture, and I say, Blaine is like the bomb, you know, and solid. There are ways that girls subtly make comments about each other being stout or solid that are really targets taking shots at their weight, right? So I would just encourage you to visit with your kiddos about how that works. The other thing that I want all parents to know is that just because you follow your kid on Instagram doesn't mean you know what they're posting on Instagram, because a lot of high school and college kids have a second Instagram account. Some kids call them Finstagrams, some kids call them Sinstagrams. Finsta because they're your fake Insta, Sinsta because it shows your sins, right? And what we see is kids know that mom is keeping track, creeping on them is what the kids call it. I call it parenting. But so the kids know that mom is keeping track of what they're putting on their Instagram. So on Instagram goes all the good stuff. And if you want to bully somebody or post selfies of yourself drinking or doing something inappropriate, you put that on your Finsta or your Sinstagram. Really, the only way for you to know if your kiddo has an Instagram, a second Instagram account, you can ask them. Lock them in the car, you know, while you're going down the interstate so they can't leap out and ask them. You can look at their phone and you can see if there's two logins. If you look on the little gear, that there's two logins to their Instagram. It's very fascinating to me. My 22-year-old daughter has a Instagram, and I actually think as a college student that's not a bad strategy to like have a professional looking profile and then God knows what they do at the bars when they're 22, right? But Instagram suggests people for you to follow based on the other people that you follow. And Instagram keeps suggesting that I follow Anna's fake account, which makes me laugh because I'm like, you're not fooling me. I see it right here, right? So, or you can do a Google image search that also will pull up your kiddos. But I do think parents should be talking to their kids about whether they have 2 accounts on Instagram. In addition to school-based consequences, we're seeing a significant uptick in civil litigation. These are cases involving money where you're suing for money damages. These aren't cases where somebody goes to jail. Your standard HO3 will provide a defense if you have homeowners insurance. This is a case from a middle school 8th grade boy that made a website called Teacher Sucks. He took the teacher's image from the school website and put it on the website that was Teacher Sucks. And he has a little graphic of the knife coming across her head, and then her head pops off and red stuff gooshes out, right? He also compares her to Hitler, and then he asks everybody to kick in $10 so they can hire a hitman and get rid of her. Teacher finds the website, teacher goes to the principal and complains, principal expels the kid. Can the principal do that? Yep, we've created a disruption in the school. I think the principal can do that. That's not what makes this case interesting. Teacher then files a lawsuit against the student alleging intentional infliction of emotional distress. Jury awards the teacher $500,000. Now, while the kid is expelled, he uses his time at home very productively, takes a picture of the principal from the website, has a bullet coming towards the principal's head. Principal had seen the video and was like, yeah, whatever. Until the principal saw this. And the principal says, oh my goodness, I'm so distressed. Principal files suit against family. Now, the family owned their own home. Insurance company had paid for everything to this point. Family wasn't really out of pocket much other than the time they had for depositions and the like. As soon as the principal filed suit, the insurance company settled the lawsuit with the principal, dropped the family's homeowner's insurance. Family had to sell their house to pay the principal's $300,000 judgment. So, school-based consequences, civil litigation. Probably the most common consequence I've seen Nebraska kids face in the last couple of years for making inappropriate statements online is prosecution criminally for making terroristic threats. This is the terroristic threat statute. If you threaten to commit a crime of violence, intending to terrorize another, intending to cause the evacuation of a public place, or acting in reckless disregard of causing terror or evacuation, you have committed a terroristic threat. Class 4 felony, up to 5 years in prison, 3 years in prison per occurrence if you're a minor, up to a $10,000 fine. I can't tell you how many of these we had last year. More than a dozen. We stopped counting. Kid after kid after kid decided that it would be hilariously funny if they made some sort of threat online. This one from Nebraska City, all of these are our schools, but this one, a girl is sitting in high school study hall and she's bored, and so she thinks it will be funny if she makes a 911 call to the police and says she hears gunfire. Unbeknownst to anybody at the high school, at the middle school, at the same time this happens, there is a mom and a dad trying to collect a middle school kid, and they are in a domestic, like a custody dispute. And so things are getting heated between mom and dad, and the school secretary at the middle school has called the cops to say, hey, I don't know what's cooking here, but maybe you should swing by. So at the same time they've gotten a call about a domestic disturbance from one school, they get a 911 call about a shooting at another school. The Nebraska City Police appropriately reacted with all hell broke loose, right? They go to the school, they lock them down. If you've seen the news, there's a news video of the high school kids like crouching out the building and running. All because a high school student thought she would be funny and was bored in study hall and made a 911 call. Please, I'm begging you, please reinforce with your kiddos. I talked to 5-12 today and emphasized to all of them that this kind of stuff is not funny, but you should reinforce that as well. These are just more examples of things that we've had in the last about a year and a half. This is a new statute that I'm worried about and I want to draw your attention to. The Unit Council amended the crime of intimidation by electronic device. It used to be all telephone calls, but no kid calls each other and says mean things to each other anymore, right? You notice when you call your kids, do they answer the phone? No, they text you and say, what's up, right? So they've now amended this crime of intimidation by telephone to broaden it out to say it's any electronic communication intending to intimidate, threaten, or harass if it uses obscene language, if it threatens to inflict physical or mental injury, or attempts to extort money. I told the high school kids today, think about the text message that you wanted to send your ex after she dumped you. You see why I'm worried, right? So, talking to kiddos about the fact that you fire off a text message because she took up with your ex-boyfriend and she deserves to be smacked around. Suddenly now we're talking about a misdemeanor crime and not just a stupid, angry text message. The third way I see kids being criminally charged is under the sexting statutes. I showed your high school kids this little exchange because it just makes me laugh. Marcus says to a girl, send me a pic of you in bra. She says, okay, and then she sends this. One of the things I have collected over about the last 10 years is I have a Word document with all the funny responses I've seen girls use, especially girls, not always, but girls and boys use in response to these requests. I believe that every single parent in this room should talk to your kids about what they should do when they get asked for a nude. Because they will be asked. And I have students over and over again say, you know, I didn't know what to do, I didn't want to send it, but she kept asking and asking and asking, and eventually I just sent it just to get her off my back. And so we need to equip our kids with some tools of what to do other than just say no, because it gets tiring to say no over and over and over again. I know that we don't want our kids sexting because we want the best for them, you know, in terms of like finding their forever partner and whatever. But in addition to that, it's a crime. It's a felony in the state of Nebraska. If you are under the age of 19 and you possess an image of someone else who is under the age of 19, including yourself, if you are 16 years old and you take a nude photograph of yourself, you've committed a Class 4A felony. If you are over the age of 19 and you possess an image of someone under the age of 19, you're in the active commission of a 3A felony. Up to 5 years in prison, 2 years for minors, 5 years for adults, up to a $10,000 fine, mandatory lifetime sex offender registration. Youngest case I've worked where a child was put onto the registry when he committed his offense, he was 10. His parents appealed all the way up to the Nebraska Supreme Court, arguing that that was too young to be put on the sex offender registry, and the Nebraska Supreme Court said, no, it's not if you have nude images that you're trafficking across state lines. So I don't want you to think that they don't take this stuff seriously, because 100% they do. This is a survey by Drexel University that shows about 50% of students in middle school through high school report that they've either sent or received an inappropriate text message or picture. Look at the number for the younger set. 12 to 14-year-olds, 20% have already sent or received an inappropriate picture or text. Again, this is a question of when it happens with your kiddo, not if. Case in Fairbury that we had last year where students came into possession of an inappropriate picture of one of their classmates, and they started sharing it and sharing it and sharing it. In the end, 50 different students were interviewed by the Nebraska State Patrol. Their cell phones were confiscated, and kids faced both felony and misdemeanor charges for possession of child pornography. This is a case from Lincoln where 18-year-olds were filming a 17-year-old in secret. They then posted it both to Snapchat and to other social media sites. Judge Flowers in Lincoln tried them as adults, would not put them into juvenile court, and she sentenced them to 60 days in prison. No social media until they're 21. When I tell the kids that, they go, oh! Judge Flowers also placed these two on the sex offender registry until they're 21 years old. She said she would hear them, they could argue at 21 about whether or not they should be allowed to go off the sex offender registry or be left on. She said if it was my decision, I would leave you on. You deserve a lifetime sentence on the sex offender registry because you gave this girl a lifetime sentence when you shared her nude without her permission. Which is a good point. 18 months get charged for asking. But what I see now is county attorneys charging kids under the child abuse statutes. It is child abuse if you knowingly or intentionally permit a child to be placed in a situation to be sexually exploited by allowing or encouraging the child to engage in obscene or pornographic photography. Do you see how they get there? And so I've now seen county attorneys charging 16-year-olds for asking other 16-year-olds for nudes because it's attempted child abuse. And so really reinforcing with your students that even asking can be considered a crime is important, and that's a 3A felony. This is a news story that I just found fascinating, and if any of you want to actually have the clip, let me know. This link is also hot on our website. They asked kids, one thing my parents don't know about social media is most common response from the kids dealt with the fact that there is way more online nudity than you realize. Here's a sampling of the kids' responses. You know what's going on, but you think it's a lot, but to be totally honest, it's like 10 times more than that, says one middle school girl. It's happening at a younger age than what you think is right. One of my friends got an inappropriate picture, and I was like so uncomfortable, it was weird. We both logged off our social media accounts until 2 whole days, oh my god! And then we got back on. Having conversations with your students about the fact that it is just not a normal part of every relationship to exchange nudes, I think that's important. And here's why. I'm not making a judgment morally about whether or not it's okay for teenagers to have sex, right? That's a parenting decision, that's not a lawyer decision. But if we have the assumption that it is part of a normal romantic relationship for students to exchange nudes, we are encouraging them to commit Class 3A or Class 4 felonies. We also set them up to be victimized by predators in a way that we haven't necessarily thought all the way through. And so talking to your kids about the fact that this is just not a normal part of having relationships, I think is important. Quick story. I've done a lot of research and a lot of work in the sexting front. And I was doing my very first set of slides, probably, well, it was 9 years ago because Anna was 13. So I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I've got all these cases spread out and I'm putting slides together. And my husband comes walking past and he says, "What are you working on?" I said, "Well, I'm working on a slideshow about sexting." And this will show you how long ago it is. My husband says, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, it's, you know, when kids take pictures with their cell phones that are inappropriate and send them." And David goes, "Oh, Anna's camera, Anna's phone has a camera." Yeah. You don't think she would ever do that, do you? I'm like, "Well, I hope not. I'll talk to her about it, but you know, we don't know." But here's the thing, it had never even occurred to him that teenagers would do this. Now here's the true fact, ladies and gentlemen. I dated this man all through high school. He totally would have thought of this. We forget how old 16 feels when you're in it, right? We forget what it's like, you know, to have that first, "Oh my God, I love you." And by forgetting that, I think we do our kids a tremendous disservice. So talking about the fact that obviously having romantic feelings for somebody else is okay, but crossing over into felony land, you know, don't make that crazy attorney come back up to Central City. Those are conversations that really parents are in the best position to have. This is just a case from Storm Lake, Iowa, just showing you that they're charging kids in middle school now too. These kids were 12 and 13. 9 different students who were arrested, 15 different incidents. The boys who had shared the pictures across state lines were charged federally because now they were trafficking child pornography on an interstate basis. The girls who originally had taken the pictures of themselves also were charged with distribution of obscene material under Iowa state law. So this is a deal where both the recipient and the sender can be charged. I talked to your kiddos about what to do if they were asked for a picture or if they received a picture. I would encourage you as parents to follow up with that and kind of have a game plan going with your kids. I love this cartoon. I want to finish up by talking a little bit about some internet safety issues, and I want to spend a minute talking about this case from Falls City. Falls City is like Central City. It's one of the school districts I get to come back to year after year. And so I don't like know your kids, but I feel like I do, right? Because we see each other every couple of years. And so this girl is the daughter of a teacher. I've been in front of her at least 3 times. She's 12 years old when this story begins, and she has an internet boyfriend whose name is Josh. And mom and dad know about the boyfriend. They have no problem with it. In fact, I think dad is kind of happy that he's a virtual boyfriend because, you know, the chances of the kid having to be shot with a gun by dad is lower, right? But mom and dad observe her talking to this kid on Skype and Google Hangouts and FaceTime. They make sure that, sure enough, he really is a 12-year-old boy. They kind of keep an eye on things. Unbeknownst to mom and dad, Josh tells this girl, well, you know, if we're going to be boyfriend-girlfriend, you know what boyfriends and girlfriends do, right? Boyfriends and girlfriends, they all exchange nudes. That's what you do. And the girl initially says no. But he keeps after her, and eventually she sends him a couple of pictures that are inappropriate. Nothing happens. She and the boy continue this conversation, continue to talk to each other. Like 6 weeks go past, and eventually the boy says, hey, it's really sad that I'm in Utah, which is where he lived. I'm in Utah and you're in Nebraska. We're never going to meet each other in real life. But my uncle is going to be in Falls City for work. And he's really cool. Would you like to meet him? She's like, no, he's a really great guy. It'll all be cool. And so this little girl thinks that she's being smart. She says, okay, but I'll only meet him in a public place right after school. So in Falls City, if you've ever been to their middle school, like kitty corner down the street just a little bit is like a Casey's. And so kids all bust out over there when school's out to go buy their Laffy Taffy or whatever, right? And so she says, I'll meet him at Casey's at 3:30, and she takes 2 friends with her, like as wingmen. So she goes to the Casey's, he's sitting there, and so her friends go and buy whatever, and she sits down and talks to the uncle for a little bit. He seems perfectly normal. And then she says, okay, well, I gotta go. And as she's getting ready to leave, he pulls out his cell phone. And on his cell phone are the pictures that she sent Josh. And the uncle says, you come with me. And don't you raise a stink with your friends, or I'll show them these pictures. Girl knows that her mom will freak if mom finds out about these pictures. Girl goes with him. He takes her to a local hotel. He does stuff with her that she doesn't want to do. He came back to town 2 more times. Now, it physically makes me sick to think that this girl felt trapped and that no one could help her. I gave your kids my cell phone number today, and I mean it. I'm not their moms. I'm not the school. I can't magically fix everything. But if someone is hurting your kids, if someone is forcing your kids to do things against their will, I told them to text me, and I will find a way to give them help. The only way this predator was caught is there was a girl in North Carolina who had an online boyfriend named who was pressuring her for pictures. She tells her mom and dad. Mom and dad call the police. The North Carolina State Patrol reach out to the Utah State Patrol. Utah does a raid at the location of Josh's IP address. Sure enough, Josh is a kid. He is not the nephew of the predator. The predator has inappropriate pictures of Josh and is using those pictures to blackmail Josh into finding girls across the country to victimize. Over and over again, we see predators using the initial boyfriend-girlfriend type picture to blackmail kids into doing other things. This is the reason why I'm so adamantly opposed to the idea that we should just lighten up and not freak out about our kids exchanging nudes. It's a huge risk to our kiddos. Now, I told you there were 2 apps that every parent should know about, and I want to finish up by talking for just a second about Snapchat. Snapchat is the queen mother of all social media apps, right? It is the bomb. And if you don't have Snapchat, your kids are probably happy. But I think probably you should download it just and kind of figure out how it works. One of the features of Snapchat is it has a mapping feature. So if you open up the map, like you open up the camera of Snapchat and you pinch on the screen, it will show you the location of all of your friends on Snapchat. So these are all kids that have friended me on Snapchat because I've been to their schools. And if I squeeze in close enough, I can give you the exact street address where the kids are. This is my daughter. In Hastings, I have squeezed it, I've cropped it so that you can't see the cross street, but it shows you exactly what street and cross street she lives on in Hastings. And look, it also shows you that she's asleep, because it knows you haven't accessed your phone in X number of hours. So it knows any teenager that has Snapchat is accessing the phone multiple times per hour, right? So after a while, it knows when you're asleep. And the maps also know if you're driving. If this was live and I touched on the car, it would show you how many miles per hour I'm going in the direction I'm traveling. Here's more of my teenage friends that are sleeping. It knows if you're listening to music. See these little blue circles? Those are hot zones. If I touched that, what you would see is videos and pictures that have been uploaded from that location, and I don't have to be friends with the person to see whatever video they've uploaded. One of these, when I was doing this, and I can't screenshot that and share it with you because I don't know these people, you know what I mean? I feel like I divided their privacy. But one of these is like a family, like mom's making tortillas and they're having dinner, and I don't think mom and dad have any idea that their kids are like uploading videos on a Snapchat. But I have this perfect little insight into their evening, their family meal. And so the Snap Maps is a huge, do you see why I'm concerned in terms of predators and pedophiles? The good news is I can totally creep on my kid and see if she's going to her college classes, which she was this day. So if you want to turn it off, you have to go to, I'm trying to find a place that shows you the gear. Go to, see this little gear up here, like you have on the iPhone, the little settings button? Click on the gear and it pulls up this screen. What they call it when you turn off the map is they call it ghost mode. So your homework is to go home and ask your kids if they've ghosted on Snapchat, right? The only way for you to be sure that they've ghosted is to pull the phone out of their hands and check on their phone, because look what Snapchat has done. I can make it so that only certain people can see me on my map. So if mom heard a crazy lawyer and has come home and insisted that I turn on ghosting, I can make it so that everyone can see where I am except mom. So the only way to be sure is to check on your child's device. If you can't see your child on your Snap Maps, all that means is they've made it so that you can't see them. It doesn't mean that other people can't see them. And then Snapchat doesn't like it when you turn ghost mode on, so it prompts you, you want to do it for 3 hours, maybe just 24 hours. And so, again, follow up with your kiddos. If they've been ghosted, see, look at all these blue spots. These are all videos that people have uploaded. If they're ghosted, then there's a little ghost over their face when you look at them. So, what to do now? Parents, these are conversations that you've got to have with your kids. Again, I love talking about awkward things in the car because they can't get away. Students, you've got to talk to staff, to parents, you've got to tell people when you're struggling. Everybody, oh my God, quick story, then I'll stop. Everybody should always keep their pictures, grandma, safe. I was doing an expulsion hearing. My partner Steve Williams and I were doing an expulsion hearing at a school, and the kid was accused of sending inappropriate pictures to a girl. That's why we were expelling him, because he wouldn't leave her alone. And Steve, my partner's crossing the kid, and he says to the kid, "Why would you think that is okay? Tell us, what would make you think it's okay to take a picture of yourself like that and send it to a girl?" And the kid's answer was, "My mom does it." And you can see mom in the chair like, we need to model the kind of behavior we expect from our kids. We need to model that same behavior in all of our online behavior. No matter how lame and stupid your teenagers think you are, they are watching you, and believe it or not, they are modeling what you do. Lastly, I love this. I'm not crazy about Scott Frost. I mean, I don't think we're going to win more than 5 games this year. I'm sad about it, but I love this quote from Scott Frost. He says, "I'll tell you this right now, if there's anything negative about women, if there's anything racial or about sexuality, if there's anything about guns or anything like that, we're just not going to recruit you, period. Piece of advice for you." I read this to your kids. I love this in red. What you put on social media, that's your resume to the world. That's what you're trying to tell the world you're all about. That's how you're advertising yourself. be smart with that stuff. So if you want to reinforce that same stuff with your kids, that would be awesome. Now, I have been paid to be here, which I thank you very much. I view part of what you're paid for is to get questions answered. So I'll stick around and answer questions. But if you have stuff come up with your kids, I can't be your lawyer, I represent the school. But if you need resources, if you need help, if you reach out to me, I will try to get you a referral or more information. I view that as part of my job, having been here tonight. So if you reach out to me, there's no charge for that. I've already been paid for it. And if I can help you, I certainly will. Thank you guys. Have a fantastic school year, and go Bison.